COVID has been really great for us. We have almost no complaints. I think I received one damaged book in the entire time. So go Ingram. Thank you. I don't know why I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's just me.
Yes. What else can I say? PSA for the store. We do a lot of these Crowdcast events. If you like them, please register for our Crowdcast announcements. We've been doing happy hours with the various publishing people. And we also have a singer-songwriter night that we do the first Friday of every month. So I will now talk about books with Leslie. And the first one on our list is Wicked Enchantments. Unfortunately, I don't have it here and screen sharing messes everything up, but there is a link at the top of, I have the link, Jen. There's a link at the top of the chat that has a list of the books.
It looks like maybe there might just be one of the books in there, but we can get the whole list. It's on your store website right now too.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about the books, I just wanted to say that one of the main reasons I wanted to do this is I work with the independent bookstores across the country. And supporting the indie bookstores is my blood and my heart. So when you are done watching this and you are browsing on Christine's site, please buy a book from my friend Christine and support Two Rivers Bookstore and their Sisters Yarn in Portland, Oregon. Very important to my heart. That said, I chose some books that I thought would really work for you and your customers, Christine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I chose this list about 3 weeks ago, which was really when everything in this country changed yet again. And one of the first titles that I chose is Wicked Enchantment by the poet Moana Coleman, who was a Black poet, female poet. When there were not a lot of them selling a lot of books, there were a lot of white men poets out there. She was born in Watts. She lived in LA her whole life. She was very involved with the Beat. She was really an incredible poet. She was published a lot by Black Sparrow Press, and then David Godine, who's a publisher who just began with us on the Two Rivers distribution side, who's that's a whole nother story, is David Godine. But this collection of poems is fantastic. She passed away in 2013. If she was around right now, she would be writing and tweeting, and you would see her on all sorts of social media talking about very important social issues. She was great. And then back to David Godine, her publisher of note there was actually a man named David Godine who ran David Godine Publishing for 50 years and recently has stepped back from running the business. And he had a great recognition for independent, wonderful writers. Moana Coleman is somebody to know. So I would encourage you to get Wicked Enchantment. Is it out right now?
Leslie, your audio seems like it's off a little bit. You're a little stacky. Is there anything touching the mic?
Funny. It seems like to me. No, it's not.
Okay.
Am I freezing?
No, you're not freezing, but you're behind.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I just have to. You and I can do this. If anybody can do this, we can do this.
Yes, it's true. So the next books that we have are a collection of craft books from David and Charles.
Yeah, so David and Charles is this wonderful British UK craft publisher. These books are all available right now. I brought these to your attention, everybody out there, because I wanted Christine's store. This is perfect. They're literary, they're interesting, they're gifty, they are crafty, all the things that Christine's store is. And that is macroweave, and it's cat knits, and it's something else I just forgot. There's another third book that I can't remember. Yes. Cross Stitch for the Soul.
Cross Stitch for the Soul. Yes.
So those are those three.
Yeah, we have, for those of you who don't know, the store is a bookstore and not a wine shop, I wish, a yarn shop. And we have a lot of craft books, and we do different classes and workshops, and we're moving everything virtually. So if there's something that you're interested in, check our events out and see what you want to sign up for. We have knitting workshops, all kinds of stuff. And the store is open, so I'm sorry for the interruption. The next set of books, I believe, after that is The Lying Life of Adults.
So this one is, many of you will know Elena Ferrante. Her series, My Brilliant Friend, has been one of the great selling series, even prior to HBO picking it up as a streaming series. They just ran season 2, is currently running right now, and season 3 is next year. This is the first book that Elena Ferrante's written since she wrote that series. And this is going to be a strict on sale everywhere in this country on September 1st. It will be a huge book. I think it's going to be one of the biggest books of the fall. There were, in Italy, when it was released a few months ago, there were stores stayed open till midnight and sold it at midnight and had midnight reading parties. And it just released in France, and there was that same level of ecstasy for this book. It will be really great to have this one out there for my independent bookstores to sell. September 1st, you can pre-order that through Christine's website and get it on sale date, which would be great. And Netflix has just announced that they will be making a series out of Lying Life of Adults probably in 2022.
Oh my God, of course they are. Yeah. We still sell My Brilliant Friend and that whole series really well.
It's incredible, actually, how much that sells. And really just having the show really made it even more stratospheric than it was.
Yeah. But this is not from Europa, as was My Brilliant Friend.
It is Europa.
It is Europa.
Yep. And they don't do very many hardcovers, but this was one that warranted a hardcover. It was actually supposed to come out in June, but it was very hard to publish in June, knowing what would be happening with stores. And I think they made a really wise decision to push this until September.
Yeah. This is something that we are all thinking about, is the delay in printing because of COVID and pushing out the front list titles or the new titles. What's happening on your side for that? Like, how many books are getting pushed out?
I would say it's mostly they got pushed out of summer, kind of like, that's actually a perfect example, and into fall. And then I felt like, it seems like in order to have a book work in this climate right now, you have to have a huge book like the Elena Ferrante, something that the media and their viewers will write about. That this is not the time for discoverability for a debut indie book necessarily, unless the author has a large social media platform and can sell it for you. So a lot of those books are being pushed into the spring and early winter, which is actually fine. That's a better time to publish those books. Anyhow, we also, believe it or not, have an election coming up. It's fall. So there's this whole other layer of what will be being written about right then. So you kind of need to be big to survive this fall.
Yeah. The reason I started doing these happy hour talks with publishing people was because people were ordering books that are 15, 20 years old and had no way. There's no browsing. They had no way to know what was the new stuff coming out. So was hoping to encourage, getting the books out. It helps me and it helps you.
Yeah, I think that's good.
For sure. And then I'm going to save Vesper Flights for the end.
Okay.
Let's talk about Yellow House, which I did really well with the hardback.
So Yellow House was a book. So Grove was the publisher, or is the publisher of Yellow House, and they are one of the long storied independent publishers. What I should say too, that I didn't say at the top of this, is that I work with hundreds of independent publishers. We are distribution for a whole variety of independent publishers, some that have 80 books a year and some that have 2. So I believe in the independence of publishers. I believe in the independence of bookstores. I never shop on Amazon, as Christine knows. I don't even give them a click. So Grove published this book, Yellow House, by Sarah Broom. She grew up in New Orleans in a yellow house with her mother and siblings. And I actually was thinking about this one too, as I said, with Moana Coleman at the top of this. This story is very uniquely African-American in this country. It's somebody who struggled all the time, who had a single mother who raised her and her siblings. in New Orleans in this yellow house that they owned. It was their great pride. And actually what happened was with Katrina, the yellow house got washed away and destroyed. In fact, actually one of the poignant pieces on this book is that Sarah's brother still would go over and mow the lawn over there after the house was gone. This book was incredible to watch. I mean, we all thought internally that it was great, but then everybody started recognizing it. The reviews were extraordinary. It won the National Book Award. This paperback, having the opportunity to have the paperback sell is a great one. As you said, you did really well with the hardcover. And the paperback is a more acceptable price for a lot of people. And this is a really terrific book.
Liz Smith, I see that you're on. I think, did you buy Yellow House for me too? It did really well. And I want to go back to one other thing you said about working with independent publishers. We also had Laura Stanfield from Forest Avenue Books. She did a great happy hour with us as well. So that was really nice.
She's one of my favorites. She is a one-woman band, and she publishes great, great books one at a time. And her most recent one, Royal Lab Duels, is one that I'm sure they can pick up at your store.
Yes, I have it here somewhere. What was I going to say? Oh, I do want to say that between Laura and Leslie, those are the two smartest reading people I know. At Wendy Shane too.
Sure, but not Craig.
Not Craig. The next book that I actually have in my hot little hand is Feasting Wild. And both Leslie and I cooks. We at one time we used to belong to a book club where we tried to make a recipe out of the book, and if there wasn't one, we made it up. So we love food and eating.
And this is interesting. I was reading. I don't know which one of us is breaking up, but I'll talk slowly to hopefully allow it to catch up. I was reading, Christine, this one little quote that I got on that book, which is from the New York Times Book Review, where it says it delves not only into what we eat around the world, but what we once ate and what we have lost since then. And Elizabeth Colbert, who wrote Sixth Extinction, which is a classic book on the environment, she calls it a mixture of anthropology and adventure. And that's actually really what it is. This is a summation of what foods were eaten in the wild, what we still eat. And it's actually was another book that jumped out. Even in this time, it came out about a month and a half ago. We sold through it so fast. This is the publisher Greystone. They're the publisher of Hidden Life of Trees, which we've sold a gazillion copies. And so we love this publisher, and this is a really nice book.
Yeah, we have here, it's perfect Pacific Northwest book. We have a ton of foragers. We do really well with all of those timber press foraging books. So I think this is going to be a good one for us for sure. And now, drum roll. I'm sure many of you have read H is for Hawk. And Helen O'Connell's coming out with a new one.
Yes, so here's Vesper Flights. And this is from Helen McDonald, author of H is for Hawk. It's interesting. Doing this from home because our offices are closed, I didn't actually have access to any of the books to bring as a visual, which I really wanted to. Luckily, I think on the day that our office closed on March 16th, I grabbed a galley of Vesper Flights to have at home to read. So I have that one here. Back to, Grove, who I mentioned before, H is for Hawk was also one of these extraordinary, extraordinary books in our world. We had a lot of people internally who loved it so much and really lit our fire as a sales force for it. And then our sales force lit the fire of the independent booksellers in particular. It ended up working everywhere. It was just a massive hit for Helen McDonald, who deserved it, and for Grove, and for the Indies. And it's been 5 years maybe since H is for Hawk came out.
More than that.
I don't know. And then so here is, which also, as I see in their mind, is that H is for Hawk was one of the New York Times 10 best books of the year that year too. This one is coming out in August of 2020. I do happen to know that my friend Christine is going to have some signed books to be able to pre-sell to you guys, a limited number. So I would encourage you to order this one from her. I feel like I shouldn't even talk about H's for Hawk because most people know it, but that's not the case.
No.
So Helen MacDonald is British. H's for Hawk was about her time when she was living in grief from the death of her father. And she found a goshawk. She'd always been somebody who had worked with raptors, but she adopted a goshawk named, well, I think it's Mabel. Sometimes it's Melba. It depends on which one. I think it's Mabel. And it's all about her time training Mabel and how she used her grief and her inclination for isolation anyhow to just focus on the natural world around her with this hawk. That was a while ago, and she has not written another book. And here is a collection of her essays, and you can see what a gorgeous cover this is. This is going to be one of the big books of the fall too, for sure. She's a beautiful writer. She can write. It's funny. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, if Helen MacDonald wrote about a stapler, it would still be really great.
Yeah.
So luckily, this is not about a stapler. It is about the natural world around us all too, and definitely worth a read. And it's signed first edition.
Yeah.
Rarity.
That's very awesome. Thank you for arranging that.
Of course.
What are the essays like? Are they still all memoir? Are they?
No, they're actually more about the natural world. There are, the first piece is about bird nests and how birds build a bird nest, right? There's this, actually, let me jump into this. There's a really interesting little piece that she wrote about, if I can find it, I'll talk through it because I wanted to say that bird nests are amazing. We had one in our backyard one day that I found, and the bird had woven a target receipt throughout the nest and put all the other natural things around the target receipt. There's one, I can't remember what bird it was in here. There's a bird that built an entire nest out of wire that it found. So it takes one piece of nature and focuses on that, like the building of the bird nests. And then the next collection is all about pigs, or the next story, so or essay. So that's what they're like.
Very cool. I did skip over a book with a homemade bird feeder.
Oh yes. Speaking of birds.
Yeah.
I didn't. I know we're freezing a little bit, so I'm going to slow down a second, let us catch up. But I read a year or two ago how much people in the United States spend on bird feed. And I can't remember what the dollar amount was, but it was a lot. And so Adventure Keen, who's one of our nature publishers and publishes these great little series on birds that you can take with you when you're out bird watching. And everybody has been bird watching the last few months, it seems like, because the regional bird guides are really what is selling. So I thought this was a really sweet, nice thing that's reminding of you or store. And this is how to make your own homemade bird food. And that's homemade bird food.
Yeah, we do really well with all the birding books. I think that'll be great. St. John's is full of makers and nature watchers and hikers. So they're a great collection. Thank you for putting them together for me. Does anyone have a question? You can either ask it in the chat or the ask a question button. These books are all available, as Leslie said, on my website. The link is at the top of the chat or somewhere in the middle. Jen put the full list there. And yeah, thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with me online and talk about books like we used to do many, many years ago.
Yes, well, we still do. I'm so proud of you as a bookstore owner. I know how hard it is. So rooting for you. Oh, what are we both reading right now? That's interesting. You go ahead. You start, Christine.
All right. I am reading a book that I absolutely love. It is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I'm blanking on the author right now. It just came out. It's
I read about that somewhere.
I think it's by Brandy Hendricks. Super funny, kind of like Mom Buffy's. It takes place in the early 90s. And it centers around this group of women. Their book club is, they read murder, true crime. And something happens. And one of the women is convinced that this man in their neighborhood is actually not just a serial killer, but a vampire. And so all of these true crime books are woven in to this book. It's really, really well done. It's funny. It's a little like Christopher Moore, but it's just really well put together. So I'm loving that.
Good.
What are you reading?
So I'm in, as well as all the reading I do for work, which is really mostly for pleasure, I am in 2 book clubs. Well, I'm really in one and with another one starting. So we just finished for our book club, which is, it's interesting. I'm in a book club that's all women, which I love, and all women in either book selling or book publishing. And we just read this book called The Unseen by Roy Jacobson. It's translated from the Norwegian. It's from a small upcoming press named Biblioasis. And it's a trade paperback original. I think it's $16. It's very, very affordable. It's a beautiful, beautiful story about a family who lives on an island in Norway and the whole culture that is actually still present. I think there's one island left and there's 30 people on it in Norway, in these islands. And there was a time where that's where all the fish came in. It's fascinating. It's very full of detail. It's a great family drama. And then it turned out actually that it's a trilogy. So there's going to be a second one coming out next year. It's called The Unseen. It's so great. Then for my other book club, we're going to read Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien, which was published about 30 years ago, your favorite time.
Oh my God.
We met, actually. So I'm going to give that a try. And it's funny because one of the reps I work with, he took the opportunity he's going to be in this book club. And he said it's his 4th time reading it.
Oh my God.
So much. It's his favorite book ever. So I'm hoping I feel the same.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
And then the next book actually is available too for our other book club. It's the Samantha Kirby. Wow. It's called Wow, Thank You, No, Thank You.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which looks great. It's supposed to be hilarious. She is a great essayist, fantastic covers on all of her books. And that looks great too.
Yeah. We've been selling that really well. Your husband has a question.
Oh, no.
He also said the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list right now is pretty extraordinary.
Yes.
Could we comment on what's happening and how books can help us navigate these times?
Yeah, it's interesting actually I looked at that New York Times nonfiction list myself. It's amazing actually. It's kind of a groundswell. It's a point in time in book publishing, and in fact actually in this country, where people are reassessing all of their previously held notions about race in this country. We have a publisher on the Two Rivers distribution side named The New Press, who has always published into this category. They are a nonprofit publisher. They live and breathe publishing serious nonfiction books. And one of their books is called The New Jim Crow, which is number 3 on that list, or maybe number 4 this week, but in the top one as well, by Michelle Alexander. It's a really interesting time because normally there are times in our world where we all start to rethink things, but I've never quite seen it be as much with books as what it is, and how to change a mindset. Yeah. Books right now, every bookstore is putting out their anti-racist book list for kids, for cookbooks, for nonfiction, for rethinking your mindset. And it's really fascinating. If you look at that list that Mark posted in there, it's incredible to look at those titles. And I think it's funny because I saw maybe number 14 or 15 are just regular books. And I thought, how did regular books even survive right now? And I was on, I called a Black-owned bookstore yesterday to talk to them about their order for New Jim Crow. And on their website, it said, we have had so much support that they are 2 to 3 weeks behind on processing any orders.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So it's pretty great, actually. This is the time where things are I believe things will change. And I think we have some of the books to help people with that process.
Yeah. I hope the urgency stays with us, to make things different. I don't want to believe that the urgency is there because now we have a lot of time because we're sheltering in place. But I just hope it continues, and traditionally independent bookstores have led the way for thinking outside the box and other thinking. And I'm really proud to be in those numbers as an independent bookstore.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, folks? We went over. We try to keep this to 15 to 20, but I hope that's okay. I don't see any other questions. This will stay live. If you want to share it with your friends, you can just go back and share the link. Anybody can see it. We have a whole bunch of happy hour sessions with other publishing folks. So thank you, Liz Smith.
None that are your best friends, though.
Not with my best friend. Leslie is truly my best friend. I was in the delivery room with her when she had her baby. We've helped each other move back and forth a million times. And I miss you terribly.
Well, we get to do this. That's good.
Yeah. Do y'all want to go to a beach party in Lehman Tour? Yeah, we do, Mark. We do. Social distancing. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Louisa, for showing up. Okay, I'm gonna log us out and take care. Be safe.
Am I sticking around or not?
There's no way to X every. Okay. No, I have to stop it all.
Bye, honey. That was very fun.